Hello and welcome to another Transformers Armchair review. My name is Pez, and today my subjects are in front of the camera and I'm not. Today I'm going to be looking at Breakneck and Streetwise. Obviously this is actually Wildrider, but we won't go into that. And yeah, I'm going to do something a little different today. Not too much different. I'm still going to show you the bots and give you an opinion, but afterwards I'm going to give you even more of an opinion. So if you do want to stay to the end, I will be discussing a bit further in depth my opinions on this, on these Transformers and the Combiner Wars as a whole. Obviously, if you don't, well, that's fair enough. You can leave when you're done watching the review of these figures. Right, so I'm showing these two together because they are a good example, I feel, of a mold reused in the Combiner Wars in a good way, and the best way that they could have, as a company as Hasbro could have. Now, obviously, there is another use of this mold already out in the wild, but it's not out in the wild in the UK, and I have not paid to have a dead end shipped over to me or bought him from any of the stores when they've had him in. Online stores, that is. But yes, these are the two uses of this mold that I have, and I have to say, whereas they share mechanics and an overall aesthetic, and the cars obviously share a very, very similar vehicle mode, this is how Combiner Wars should be being done if Hasbro are going to continue to reuse molds. I mean, reusing molds is nothing new. We all know that. But this is how I think it should be done. And I'll show you what I mean here. So we'll take Wildrider. I'm fed up with using this pseudonym that they give him. And have a quick look at him. So let me try and get this to focus properly on Mr. Wildrider here. I think that's about as good as we're going to get. So yeah, got a nice head sculpt in that. Face is entirely painted red, and it seems to be done in with quite good quality. It's got an air of the paint having been globbed on, but when you look at the lines, it's actually not. It's just the color is very. It's very kind of. I don't know really what the word to use. It kind of creates a weird effect though, because it is such a solid red. Chest sculpt here, I like this piece. I like this. I like the purple inside there. Try and get my arm out of the way of the light. There you go. That's a bit better showing it. Obviously, combiner pegs in here, and this chest piece lifts up when you transform it. The arms have got some nice sculpting, both up here at the upper bicep and all the way down here. Hands are what they are. Thighs and legs, ball jointed at the top there. Got a good range of motion on them. Knees are lovely. Again, a good range of motion on them. And you come down here to the shins, and you've got, again, some nice silver pieces picked out here. Could do with a little, perhaps a bit more picked out in here, but the detailing's nice. Same here. I mean, this isn't pretty. It's functional. It's not, but it does fill in this, you know, this gap here between the legs. And yeah, I mean, outside of the arms are, you know, pretty basic. You know, the swivel up here is a little awkward in its angling. I'm not overly keen on this angling thing, and I've noticed this seems to be a common, or becoming a more common thing, this elbow which is pinned at the front, which, I mean, it creates the right effect from the front. He's standing like this, you don't really know that his elbow's only at the front here and that he's left this big wing behind him. But, you know, it is what it is. And yeah, this weapon, I think there's another cat. I think Breakdown has this weapon. I'm not sure. Somebody else I've seen with the same weapon. in pictures. I don't know. I don't like it myself. But I suppose if you're going to club somebody with something, an exhaust is as good as anything else. But yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, now here's what I'm on about the reuse of the mold. Again, like I said, they share the mechanics and everything else, and all the joints are identical. But other than that, let's have a look here. Head, obviously, completely different sculpt. I like it. I like it. The silver fade around the face. Yeah, I mean, you could have done with perhaps some highlight in there, but I don't know what you would have really done. The silver looks good. And without stepping too far away from the character and everything, I don't know what you could have done with paint wise in there to change that, to make it, you know, a little bit more defined. I do like the little red picked out on the side here, but you know, and the front edge of that could have been done with doing. But again, I'm nitpicking here for, you know, for the price of the figure. This isn't third party, so I don't expect third party paint apps on it. And yeah, I'm happy with that. Chest. Try and get it so I can. There you go. You can make it out there. Chest has got some nice detailing on it, especially around the bottom edge here, and up here. Only the Autobot logo is really stand out, but in hand, this detail does show up quite nicely, and it adds some, you know, it adds some effect to that chest. It isn't just a black solid piece. Yeah, torso again, you know, same thing. Combine the pegs that. Over to the arms. Now here's what I'm getting towards. The chest and the head, they were easy to replace because they're separate moving pieces, obviously. But the arms, upper shoulder, bicep, forearm, all completely different to the wildrider mold. You know, that's none of that is. Try and get them side by side. Whereas the, you know, the overall shape of the actual object is the same. The detailing on all of those isn't. You know, I think the inside elbow there, hang on. Oh, sorry, yeah. The inside elbow both have the same nodules on it. But other than that, they are completely different arms. And on the outside, again, the same. Straighten this up. There we are. The outside, the same shape, more or less, but again, they are different. They are different enough that, you know, unless you fiddled with them for a second or two, and you know, obviously you'd see that they were the same base shape. The detailing on each piece. I mean, we got a wing mirror here on Wildrider. A wing mirror on there. No sign that there ever was one on there. You know, going down the legs. Now your crotch piece here is, as best as I can tell, identical. They're just different plastics, and the same with the thighs, more or less. Yeah, I'd say the thighs are the same on both. So you got the same crotch, the same thighs, different knee pieces. This here, and obviously that, which makes, again, you know, a very nice touch. And then of course the shins, completely different, and even the inside of the leg is different. Now, I mean, I think that's a nice touch. And also, I do have to say this about the Streetwise figure. I love this gun. This is a lovely triple barrel shotgun thing, and I love that. That's a lovely weapon. Yeah. But yeah, and my opinion of both of these figures is that they are really nice figures. You know, regardless of whether you own one or the other or both, having both of them does not detract from my liking each one of them. I think this figure makes for a brilliant little police car. Sorry about that. And I'll show you that now. I'm going to do this off camera and cut it. So I shall be right back. So, done the transformation on these two, and the transformation is identical for both of them. And here's where I come back again to this. This is Combiner Wars, reusing molds done right. We've got two cars, ostensibly the same vehicle, the same mold was used, but to look at them, there's not a lot of similarities. There's almost no pieces have been reused to make one versus the other. Obviously, you know, we've got the sleek front here with the with a nice grill. Could have done with some paint apps in the grill, but you know, I like the two-tone grey on the hood as well. The camera doesn't pick it up very well, but the outer grey here is more of a matte, and this is slightly more of a metallic, almost a metallic fleck paint on there, and I like that. I like that. Windscreen, same kind of paint app on there as well. But yeah, so we've got Wildrider there. Streetwise, again, same mold effectively, but the front end of this and the grill of this is nothing. There's nothing even close to the same. Let's see if I can get that there. Try getting wheel to wheel. I mean, it's even a little taller as a towards the, I mean, one bows down and the other one bows up on that bump, on that bonnet there as well. So you've got an entirely remolded piece here. Going to the sides, again, they are the same shape, but the actual details and the molding on them, you know, we've got the cut it in here with the grill, and we've got the higher cut in with a fin going through the center of it there. There's not a piece of that has been reused. Go up from that and you've got the, try and get this in such a way that I can show you what I'm on about here. So you've got the upper window here, and obviously the window on this side, and then again, they're not the same. There's nothing to indicate that they're the same mold. And again, I think that's, you know, that's it done right. Same with the back here. The back is probably the closest to being, you know, copies of one another. And again, I'm going to try and get this so it lines up and I'm not in the light again. But the lines and everything, it's done very, very well, so that they are almost completely different. They basically just share a transformation. You can see it here again. You got this dip here at the back, whereas we've got those are vents on the top there that go all the way back. Obviously, we've got the light bar, and that was going to be always an obvious difference between them. But yeah, I have to say I really like this mold and how they've changed it for both of them and made two very unique looking vehicles, two very unique looking bots from effectively the same, well, it's effectively the same skeleton, and then everything else on top of it is different. And I like it. I like both of these bots. And if you were considering picking one of them up, I would recommend either one of them. Obviously, I know he was supposedly, Wildrider was supposedly an online exclusive, although I hear he's now showing up in some stores in America. I don't know the crack with that. And obviously, I picked Streetwise up. He's available now in the UK. And therefore, I suspect pretty much everywhere else. Right. That's the actual review of those two figures done. Hopefully, I've covered them enough and not gone too far into what I was going to be talking about. I know I have gone into it, but hopefully I've, while wittering on, I've managed to cover everything you wanted to hear about them. If I haven't, let me know, and I will happily do an individual review of either one of these bots, I'm more than happy to do that. So I'm going to do another little jump cut in here, hopefully. And so let me turn that off. So then, yes, as I mentioned and probably witted far too much on about during that the review there has been a lot of talk, especially since BotCon, about repaint wars. The combiner wars are overusing the molds, repainting everything, and hopefully, as I just demonstrated with that review there, that's, as I was saying, that's my opinion. In my opinion, them doing it right. Hasbro's always reused molds. It's just, you know, it's a business decision and it makes sense to do it. And so long as they do it using systems like Wildrider and Streetwise, that's fine to me. I think that's good business, and it gives us two figures that had not similar, but you know, they were both sporty cars. Wildrider was obviously more of an actual race car. Streetwise was a police car, but it was always at least in my mind, he was always kind of a fast police car sort of thing. So, you know, with the modern take on it, and with everything being a little bit Cybertronian these days, you know, everything's being inspired by the look of these toys is inspired by the IDW look. I think that's a good take on that character, and the same with Wildrider. I know Wildrider is basically just a repaint of the Dead End figure, and I haven't been able to pick that up yet. Will do eventually, but you know, and I'm sure the Dead End figure and the Wildrider figure are almost identical, because that's what Takara was doing with them, and therefore Hasbro have just kind of done it with less paint apps, I suspect. And yeah, so I thought at the end of this, I haven't really done much of a rant, much of a talk about my opinion on things beyond the actual Transformer I'm reviewing that day. So I'm just going to sort this out because it's annoying me. Right. Actually, fixed. So I thought I'd give an example of the other side of the coin as towards these things, because this is the first ones I've picked up. I've got all of Superion now, and I've got all of Defensor. I've also got Wildrider and Dragstrip, and that's my Combiner Wars lot. Oh, and Optimus Prime. And so far, that's all I've managed to pick up. Obviously, being limited to what has been on stock in England. I did pick up an import of Air Raid because I wanted to finish Superion, and Hasbro. Another rant that I was going to have, and I decided against because it was just too vitriolic, was my rant about how Hasbro UK, lied repeatedly to myself and other collectors when we asked dead straight questions of whether or not we would be receiving Wave 2. And obviously they then turned around and said, actually, no, we're not going to be supplying Wave 2 to the UK and Europe. But yeah, disappointed in that. I told them in quite passionate language, we shall say, that very same fact. But anyway, on to what I was going to say. So yeah, I thought I'd show an example of what I thought was the wrong way of Hasbro doing these things. And that is these two. Obviously got Alpha Bravo and Blades here. Now, Alpha Bravo, obviously a new character. And I got no problem with him. I actually quite like him as a member of Superion. He breaks up the planes, and whereas in G1, obviously they were all planes, and that was fine. It's explained in the story in the IDW comics why Alpha Bravo ends up having to be, you know, Superion's other limb after Slingshot takes the brunt of the damage of Devastator ripping them in half. Sorry, spoiler if you haven't been reading the comics. I apologize for that. But yeah, So, you know, they explain why there's a new member and why he is who he is. Now, I like this mold myself. I got no problems with it. I like it in helicopter mode. I like it in bot mode. I quite like these rockets on the fist. It looks like he's a bit more, I don't know, combat ready, you know. So I picked him up and I was very happy with him. And I picked up Blades the other day. And I'm trying to think where I picked him up from. Smith's in Telford. Took me a second. So yeah, I picked up picked up Blades from Smith's. I'm not going to cut that out. And I was happy with him. I really like the color scheme on Blades. And I think the paint does do a lot to kind of mitigate my disappointment in the fact that after having had wave the figures around, after having had Wildrider and Streetwise, I was honestly disappointed when I picked up these two and found that apart from their heads, which I would have to change the focus of my cameras for you to see, because that's how cameras work, isn't it? Well, my camera. Yeah, other than the heads, hey buddy, they are identical. Their molding is absolutely identical. I can't find anything different between the two of them. And I've looked. I have really looked. But fortunately, that paint scheme really does help to kind of mitigate that a little bit. Now, obviously, I would prefer if this wasn't the case. But again, we're going back to the fact that, you know, Hasbro, international business, they're going to try and find ways of making as much money off each mold as they can. But this is the wrong way to go about it, in my opinion. And at BotCon, sort this out again, we had a lot of new figures revealed, and a lot of them do look at first glance, and I wasn't there, obviously, to be able to see them in hand and such. But at first glance, a lot of them do look like remolds or, you know, some sort of retooling or a remold or a repaint of figures that either already exist or were announced at BotCon, and then two versions were showed, such as Swindle and Hound. Now, obviously, I'm going to wait for those figures to come out before I can say, oh, yes, I hate this, or oh, no, I love this, and I don't care about those ones. And hopefully, and I'm hoping that the majority of them are going to be the dead end stroke Wildrider mode versus the Streetwise mold. I'm hoping most of them are going to be that kind of comparison. Sharing a skeleton, a transformation, fine. But then they're different enough in their overall molding that you can go, oh, well, yeah, I'm happy to have both of these figures, and they can stand next to each other, and, you know, obviously, you know that they are the same mold, the same bot overall, but there's enough of a difference that you can go, well, they aren't twins. Whereas you could do that with Blades and Alpha Bravo, and that's kind of what I'm getting towards. There's a lot of, I don't know how to put it myself. It's a lot of down talking about Hasbro's product, and that's fair enough. I mean, if you don't like these things, you don't like them. That's fair enough, obviously. For the price you pay for them, I'm happy with them myself. You know, in the same way that a lot of people, those same people usually who down talk the Hasbro stuff that's coming out and don't like that for the reasons of, oh, it's a remold, it's a raid paint. You know, a lot of the stuff from G1 was remolds and repaints from when the Masters of the Universe figures from when we were kids were all basically the same legs, arms, and a body, and just switch the head out and change the color scheme. He-Man and Skeletor were, as far as I remember, completely identical bar the head. So yeah, I mean, it's nothing new under the sun, sort of thing. but yeah, I'm like I say, I'm hoping that they will stick with more of the what I've just shown off today rather than these two. But again, if they don't, and the head sculpts are different, and the paint scheme is good enough, the difference in paint scheme is good enough, I'll be happy to accept either one. But that's just my opinion. Now then, I was asked a few questions by a couple of people, and I thought, well, rather than answering them at the end of a review video like this one, I was going to put out a request for if you have any questions for me, because I've had, like I said, I've had a couple of questions off a few different people, and I thought, well, again, like I said, so if you have any questions for me, or anything you want to know about me, or my collection, if you want to see more of it, photos, anything you want to know about me, ask questions, blah blah blah, pop them down in the comments below, or shoot me a message, or if you know me on Facebook, shoot me a message on there, and I will do a questions and answers video, and I'll try and answer all your questions, or at very least, if I only get a few responses, I will end up sticking the answers to those questions at the end of my videos, at one of the end of my review videos, and I'll just put a connotation saying that the questions and answer section is at the end of that. But yeah, I've ranted quite a lot. This isn't unusual for me, I don't think. If any of you watch the podcast with sixshot and that, this isn't unusual for me to rant. But yeah, I have more reviews upcoming. I think I'm either going to be doing Hotspot or Nemesis Prime next. We'll see. I'm not sure which one will get put up first, basically. It's whichever one gets edited first, really. But yes, thank you everybody for watching. If you don't already, please consider subscribing somewhere down there. Hit the like button if you would like to hit the like button. Don't if you don't, I suppose. Go on, hit it. You want to. I'm being weird now. I'm going to go. Bye-bye. Mouse died. Ah!